Binance CEO CZ joins the CNBC Squawk Box to discuss how the company is working to avoid the major fallouts like the similar to the FTX crash outs. FTX new CEO John Rinn had told the committee that Binance had nothing to do with the falls and the collapse of the FTX. Before we start the video, subscribe the channel and turning on the red notifications button so you'll never miss any for future fascinating and interesting video like that one. So start the topics without wasting any time.
Yeah, so we are working with firms to do the audit financials, liabilities, etc. Very simply, Binance does not owe people money. Binance does not have loans from other companies, from other funds. We just don't have it. You can ask any fund in the ecosystem. You can ask any VC. We actually also do not have VC investments, so we don't owe anybody any money. And we also do not have loans to other people that we depend on for our next payroll. So we are very simple, very self-contained type of organization. And we manage our cash very simply. So that's very, very different from the FTX situation where so people who were hurt by FTX are now worried about everybody else. And they were defending FTX before. That's why they have money on FTX. So, but just because they're bitten by one snake doesn't mean that every other animal is the same.
A series of tokens and positions, and I owned 32 of them, about that, 32, I can't remember exactly, but we had a lot of diversity. Some of them were FTT, some were locked up. There was Serum, Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, et cetera, and USDC. I just want to make a point, though. You know, this doesn't change the potential for what crypto can be at all. This is no different than Enron or maybe Lehman or Bear Stearns or whatever you want. You don't know the outcome yet. You have to pursue it. You have to do the forensic audit. Enron goes to zero. And I think Toomey said this himself. It didn't change energy trading. Who cares? If Sam Bankman-Fried did anything wrong, we're going to find out. I don't know. And I'm going to follow the path and be part of the process. I also should disclose to you that I applied for the credit committee just before midnight last night. There will only be 7 members on it. There's thousands of people that want to be on that credit committee, but I think I have a unique view from the inside out. At that time, Alameda was just another account in FTX, okay? By the way, I'll call you out and say, how do you know that if you have no records? And my whole point about this is all of these allegations, all these claims, all of this Sam Bankman-Fried took money out, took it in, whatever. Nobody knows because there's no data. That data, as I learned, according to Sam, is sitting on a server backed up on AWS. Right now, all roads lead to John Ray, it seems. Sam says he can flip the switch. I need that data. I can't go get the money unless I have the data where it went.
The Binance CEO CZ and Cameron Larry are engaged with the war in words and abusing or accusing on each other. CZ criticized the celebrity and the Shark Tank investors and the fame investors Cameron Larry due to his continued support for the FTX and his founders Sam Bankman-Fried. Venture capitalist Cameron Larry tells the United States Senate Banking Committee that the 2 companies and the 2 exchanges are tagged with each other. An interview with the YouTube channel's Global News, Cameron Larry said that
I have an opinion. I don't have the records. Here it is. After my accounts were stripped of all of their assets and all of the accounting and trade information, I couldn't get answers from any of the executives in the firm, so I simply called Sam Bankman-Fried and said, where is the money, Sam? He said he had been refused access to the servers. He no longer knew. I said, okay, let's step back. This is a simple case in my mind of where did the money go? And I said, Sam, walk me back 24 months. Tell me the use of proceeds of the assets of your company. Where did you spend it? And then he told me about a transaction that occurred over the last 24 months, the repurchase of his shares from Binance, his competitor. I didn't know this at the time, but at some point, CZ or Binance, who runs Binance, purchased 20% ownership in Sam Bankman-Fried's firm for seed stock. And then, over time, and I asked him, what would compel you to spend $2 billion was the number he was giving me at that time. Later, in a subsequent conversation, about 24 hours later, he told me it could have been as much as $3 billion to buy back the shares from CZ. I asked him, what would compel you to do that? Why wouldn't you keep your assets on your balance sheet? And why would you offer this to just one shareholder He said, because every time we went to get licensed in different jurisdictions, because you must understand the prize of crypto is to get regulated. For all the talk we say about Bitcoin and everything else, no institutions own this. I work for the sovereign wealth and pension plans. They don't touch this stuff because it's unregulated. Between these two, let's call them frenemies, because they obviously were potentially the two largest shareholders in the firm, they had a disagreement. They had a falling apart. Apparently, according to Sam Bankman-Fried,
if the legislations were to pass the banning bank from integrations, cryptocurrency and the technical, it would short story American bank stocks because it would make the American banking sector the most uncompetitive in the world. He said that he believed that the cryptocurrency exchange FTX was collapsed due to it was war on the main competitor Binance, which put out of his business. Earlier this week, former CEO Sam Bankman-Fried was charged with orchestrating a scheme to defraud investors by the United States Securities and Exchange Commissions. Bankman-Fried was arrested Monday in the Bahamian at the request of the United States government and the Bahamian authorities. He said that FTX, which had been among the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, filed for bankruptcy on November 11. One of the highest profiles crypto blowups with traders pulled $6 billion from the platform in 3 days, and the rival exchange Binance abandons a rescue deal. CZ was vocal about how $15 million paid by the FTX to the O'Leary was enough to change his mind and aligns with a fraudster. According to a tweet thread by the Binance CEO, a world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, it cited FTX in the July 2021. CZ mentions that the Bankman-Fried had spent money in the political donations with the luxury estates while also investing in a Miami stadium, multiple Super Bowl ads, and the basketball referees and the F1. CZ mentioned that tweet thread the Binance becomes increasingly uncomfortable with Alameda, a cryptocurrency trading firm, and initiated the exit process over a year and a half ago. O'Leary pointed fingers at the Binance of the collapse of the FTX. According to O'Leary's statements, Binance and FTX were at war with each other as the former poured the light out of the business intentionally.
CZ would not comply with the regulators' request in these different geographies, these different jurisdictions, to provide the data that would clear them for a license. He withheld it, according to Sam Bankman-Fried. The only option the management and Sam Bankman-Fried had was to buy him out at an extraordinary valuation of close to $32 billion, less apparently a 15% discount. That stripped the balance sheet of assets. You ask me why it went bankrupt? Go to the last week. All of a sudden, in social media, CZ is asking for another $500 million. He wants to do a block trade of FTT, or the proprietary token of FTX. Wants it converted back to fiat. Why would you put that out there? You know it's going to push down the pressure. It's going to push down the value of that coin dramatically, and that's exactly what happened. Every trader knows if you have a large block trade, you go negotiate a clearing price with other buyers and you do the transaction. In my view, my personal opinion, these two behemoths that own the unregulated market together and grew these incredible businesses in terms of growth were at war with each other. And one put the other out of business intentionally. Now, maybe there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe there's nothing wrong with love and war. But Binance is a massive, unregulated global monopoly now. They put FTX out of business. Now, lots of other reasons, I'm sure, but that's my personal opinion. That is what Sam Bankman-Fried told me in terms of where the assets went. Why should we care? Single reason. I'm a shareholder. You tell me the two largest shareholders do a transaction together, that's a related party transaction. I'm not sure that's okay. Maybe I want a Madoff clawback on those proceeds.
Maybe there's nothing wrong with law and war, but Binance is a massive unregulated globally monopoly now. They put FTX out of the business, said O'Leary before the Congress National hearing on the Wednesday. Millionaire Canadian businessman and Shark Tank investors Cameron O'Leary has told the US Senate Banking Committee it is investigating the collapse of the Sam Bankman-Fried FTX cryptocurrency exchange and the rival platform Binance intentionally put the company out of the business. This is despite the FTX new CEO John Ren has told the committee that the Binance had nothing to do with the collapse of the FTX. In my view, these two behemoths that own the unregulated markets together and now this incredible business in terms of the growth were at war with each other and now put the out of the business entirely. Mr. Larry, who was paid the $15 million to the spokesmen and the ambassadors of the FTX. It seems $15 million not only changed Cameron Larry's state of minds about the crypto, but also might be aligns with the fraudster. As he's serious defending Sam Bankman-Fried, Mr. Sao said there in the Twitter. He tweeted included a link to the interview and the comments. Baseless attack starts around 4 minutes 20 seconds. I said, Sam, walk me back 24 months and tell me the use of the proceeds, the assets of your company. Where did you spend it? Mr. Larry, who estimates he lost $9.1 million when FTX collapsed, he sat there in the Senate hearing. And then he told me about a transaction that occurred over the last 24 hours. The purchase of his shares from Binance, his competitor said that. I don't know at the time, but at some point CZ purchased the 20% ownership in the Sam Bankman-Fried for the sake of stocks. Mr. Larry testifies that Mr. Bankman-Fried told him they paid $2 billion for the shares and the payback from Binance. But 24 hours later, during another conversations between the two, he was told that it could be a being worth as much as $3 billion to buy back the shares from the CZ. That's it for today. If you haven't already, subscribe to the Bitcoin Thinking channel and turning on the red notifications button so you'll never miss any for future fascinating and interesting video like that one. So meet with another video. See you next time. Ciao.